TFL EV is brought to you by Flow Charger, maker of reliable, high-quality charging stations for your electric vehicle.
Big news today is that Chevrolet and General Motors now have several, at least, Chevy Silverado EV all-electric prototypes testing either at their proving grounds or in the real world, right?
Yeah, and that's a big deal, right? There's not too many electric trucks out there at the moment. How many, Andre, actually?
Well, right now on sale, there's a Rivian R1T. Technically on sale is the Hummer EV truck from GMC and the Ford Lightning.
Yeah, this kind of competes with the Lightning, but probably we can expect it to be a bit more expensive.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of in its own little area. And so in this video, we're going to show you some new pictures, a video of the new Silverado EV that General Motors actually published, and tell you some of the specs, and also tell you how it fits probably in this bigger picture, right?
Yeah. And so, like you mentioned, the Hummer, this has a lot of technology shared with the Hummer. It's GM's Ultium, so their battery technology, similar motors probably, and it's going to have four-wheel steering, which is interesting on a work truck.
Yeah, and the height adjustable suspension. So when they initially unveiled the electric Silverado, the Silverado EV, it was shown in the RST trim, which is currently, as far as we've seen, they're kind of more premium trim that they have shown, and they said it's going to cost $105,000 approximately
an expensive truck.
To start. So it's less expensive than the Hummer starting price, which is $112-ish. Also, that price is going up as well. And of course, it's more expensive than even the Rivian trucks.
Yeah, very much kind of work focused though. You mentioned the RST trim, right? That's what we're expecting to be available first, what Chevy has said. The WT trim is going to actually, though, I think they said 20,000 pounds of towing capacity.
Yes.
So if that's true, that will be quite an advantage over the Lightning.
Totally. So in the prototype we see here, so they showed it on a gravel road, right? They have at least one image of it on the highway, probably at their proving grounds. There was also a different prototype captured in public. And I think this looks to be, I'm guessing it's more of an RST-ish trim. And it's hard to tell because it's all blacked out, right? And it's kind of testing trim because it's missing the running boards, it's missing the fender flares. But it seems it's like a little bit more premium to me.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's going to be that higher kind of trim level. And you said, again, $105,000 price, so by no means a cheap truck, but it will be pretty well equipped on the technology side of things, also feature packed. It's got that mid-grade thing so you can fit longer stuff in the bed. I think they said 10 feet.
Yeah, so it's basically almost like the Chevy Avalanche that's coming back from the past. It has that feeling because it has kind of there's no separation from the bed to the cab. It's kind of almost like a one-piece design, but it's still based on their Ultium chassis, which is kind of a frame-based chassis, so it's kind of in between.
Yeah.
Is it really a body-on-frame truck, or is it really a unibody? But like you said, it has very fancy suspension, height adjustable in the RST trim at least. And they have some new information that Chevrolet just published. They said the majority of people who ordered one or reserved one, like 95%, want this to be their daily driver.
So I think it tells you a lot about what people are expecting when it comes to the convenience, the livability of this truck. And it's supposedly, what did it say in range? Like 400 miles, right, is what they're saying up to?
Yeah, and so that's a big claim. Because right now the F-150 Lightning has 320 maximum range with a bigger battery. The R1T has 314 miles of range. So 400 miles would be really, really excellent. I think they're going to do it with a bigger battery, right? And they're promising what, 664 horsepower?
Yeah.
So not Hummer levels of power and not Rivian levels of power, but somewhere in between.
Right, almost kind of closer to the Rivian, almost Hummer end of things than it is Lightning, so significantly faster, but similar to 0 to 60 time. I believe they said 4.5 seconds, which we can infer it's probably a bit heavier than the Lightning given everything it's loaded with.
Yes, and then GM and Chevrolet said that 87% of the people who responded with reservations and interest want to tow. That's a high percentage of people who want to tow with this truck. So we've done several videos. You can find them on alltfl.com, right? We've towed with the F-150 Lightning. We've towed with Rivian R1T, and we find that it's about when you load them heavy, it's about 1 mile of range towing per percentage of battery, which is not very far.
Huge drop off,
Yeah.
right? Because we've got the Lariat Extended Range Lightning, which, like you said, should get 320 miles of range unladen. When it's towing, you got about, what did Tommy see, 80 miles or so? Of
Yeah,
interval
86.
range? 86.
Yeah, and we had a little bit left over, so maybe 100 miles of towing a big camping trailer, quite heavy camping toy hauler. So 400 miles that they're saying unladen, right? Range, I think that could probably do that. Towing, it may drop to like 150.
And that's
right?
people's big question. Like, especially Chevy themselves are saying people want to tow with it, right? I think it's a question almost of more of charging than actually absolute range, because I think we've seen the range just isn't there at an absolute level.
Yeah, but charging, they're promising really high speeds, right? 350 kilowatts. Ford has promised 150 kilowatt, and 350 kilowatt would be very, very fast. Like the Rivian can charge up to about 215, right?
Right.
So this would be a fast speed, but in the real world, is it actually doable?
We will see. I mean, obviously it depends on chargers. There's been many videos that TFL has done kind of showing the mixed reliability of chargers. Actually getting the very fast 350 kilowatt chargers is its own question. And of course, there's also charging curves. There's not much known about what the charging curves in this truck will look like. We know the Lightning, despite having that kind of more conservative figure, tends to have a very aggressive but kind of steady curve, right? We don't know if this will drop off. We've seen that on the Rivian. So that actually meant that when you charge the Rivian and the Lightning, despite the Rivian having the bigger number, the actual time to charge was similar.
Yeah, totally. And also, of course, it's a matter of, we haven't really tested the GMC Hummer yet, right? So as soon as we do, and as soon as we have a really reliable charging curve, you know, how the charging actually progresses, we'll be able to kind of assume a few things about this.
Yeah.
This is still a 2024 model year, right? So it's not coming this year. It's probably going to make its debut sometime later in 2023 as a 24 model.
Right. And of course, I think a big question is how many of these can GM actually make? We've seen it with the Rivian, with the Lightning. Despite those being different kind of vehicles, the demand right now for pickup trucks, especially electric pickup trucks, is red hot. And we've seen with the supply issues that people are having a hard time getting them.
Yeah, for example, in Q1, first quarter of this year, GMC only sold about 99 Hummer electric trucks. In month of May, Ford sold about 201 Lightnings. Rivian overall over the last, 2 quarters, I think produced about 8,000 vehicles. So we're not talking about really high numbers here, right? And also, if you want affordable vehicles, not $105,000 vehicles, the WT Silverado EV, they're promising to start under 40 grand.
Right.
But it's not coming right away. You know, it's not going to be, you know, the RST will be first, they said, and then a little bit later, the work truck will be available.
Right. You can make jokes about the Pro F-150 Lightning being unobtainium, but I think some of those have shipped, right? They're launched. Whereas, like you said, with this WT, we don't know when that's coming out.
Yeah, and it's going to be really more simple, you know, no fancy seats, no, you know, ventilated and heated seats. It's going to be a lot more simple, and the battery sizes might be different too. We think this might have 200 kilowatt hours at the maximum highest range RST model, which would allow it to go 400 miles, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly what General Motors, how they're going to tweak it, right? And they also mentioned off-roading. A lot of their customers then who expressed interest want to go off-road. Majority of them do. So they do have a trail bus version that they have teased coming in 2025. So we also have an image of that that we can show you. If this truck looks low to the ground, well, it's probably because the suspension is kind of lowered, right? It has height adjustable suspension.
That's optional, I believe. I'm not sure if it's standard on RST. I think on their website they're talking about it being an option, but that would kind of put it more in contention with the Rivian when it comes to off-roading with having that kind of independent four-corner air suspension.
Yeah, and of course, four-wheel steering is going to be huge because this truck is pretty long, right? Pretty large vehicle, but four-wheel steering. I've driven the Hummer EV truck off-road at their launch event. It was very maneuverable. It was shocking, dude. When on a tight trail or in a parking lot making tight maneuvers, it felt like a small car.
Yeah, I'm not a truck guy, but to me it seems loads more practical than the crab walk mode on the Hummer that they're using.
Yes, totally. Crab walk is weird. it just feels strange, right? It's fun to show, but it just feels strange in the real world. But four-wheel steering makes it really maneuverable. It also helps with towing because four-wheel steering can actually stabilize the trailer at speed because it can react very fast. And also backing up a trailer could be helpful.
Yeah.
Right? Backing up into a tight area. So all those things are good. And now they're testing them in the real world.
We can't wait to learn more about the truck. Like you said, 2024 model year, so it's not coming out for a bit. But where can people stay tuned if they want to learn more about the Silverado EV?
Well, alltfl.com, because we have 8 channels, 4 websites, several podcasts. But alltfl.com is one place, one-stop shop where you can find everything. And hopefully GM, will accelerate their development a little bit, and because we want these trucks, right? We want to see what they're capable of. Obviously, it's not an end-all solution for everybody. We'll have to see how it is.
Yeah, more competition and more options in the market is not a bad thing.
Thanks for joining us.